After a hot shower at a gym, a man noticed there's a wound on his arm the size of a quarter, the edges slightly elevated from his skin like a short, wide volcano. The center of the wound is green. He swears and says, "Not again," before heading to one of the toilets nearby. He recalls when the disease first appeared. People got real sick, including himself. They could barely walk, they were so weak from the vomiting and fever. When all seemed lost, one of the scientists from the lab downstairs figured out that their red black blood vomit mixed with toilet water and iron oxide, rust, made a drink that suppressed the symptoms and allowed the body to heal, but also required you clean off the green from the wounds or else symptoms would just keep reappearing. It was painful to scrub away the top of the wounds and disgusting to drink the concoction, but afterwards the wounds would seal up and heal and the fever would stop and they would be healthy again. That was months ago, and although they never found what caused the disease, nobody had been sick in weeks until now. The man pulled out a rusty steel wool from his backpack and scrunched it up over the toilet water, allowing rust particles to discolor the water. Next, he retrieved a kitchen sponge and used the gritty side to scrub off the green layer on top of the wound on his upper arm. Wincing through the pain, he checked it and put away the sponge before forcing himself to vomit into the toilet. He used a hand to swish it around and mix the concoction just like the scientist had told everyone to do during the last outbreak. He held his breath and dove in to gulp down a couple mouthfuls. Disgusting. Once he had re-showered and checked himself to ensure there were no fresh wounds, he went to the changing room and saw one of his old political enemies with a similar wound on his arm. But instead of drinking anything, this one had a tiny red syringe and was injecting it into his shoulder. The man asked his old enemy what that was and was told it is a new cure which works faster and more reliably than the drink. "But this one is mine. You can't have it." Looking around, the man sees the changing room filled with conservative politicians and advocates, walking around in towels or getting dressed, and about half of them have copies of this little red syringe. While he is distracted, he feels a prick on his hand. One of them had noticed his wound and injected him with the cure without even asking. "Ouch," he said, "but thank you. What's it called?" The person who had injected him replied in a southern drawl that it was branded as freedom juice and that Democrats are usually too wussy to take it when they know it's coming. Flash forward a week, a news broadcaster is speaking of a street drug called freedom juice that is being used to assassinate and murder people in record breaking numbers. There are two versions of the drug. The darker red one is poison. The lighter red one is blood from a super survivor who is immune to the green infection. We caution you all to only get these injections from a medical professional. Do not inject anything you find through a friend or a street dealer. By the time that news report came out, the man from the shower was long dead, as were almost every Democratic politician in the country. Emergency elections were being held, but anyone running for progressive or social support platforms was assassinated before the debates. In the months that followed, the government was dismantled by anarcho-libertarians who had assassinated all the conservative politicians after the Democrats were dead. Liberal-leaning cities such as San Francisco were abandoned after such mass murder sprees had left them with not enough population to run the grocery stores and sewer systems. The population of the country continued to plummet long after the election ceased, long after the last census taker was murdered. No one knows the true population anymore, but traveling around, you'd be lucky to see more than 100 people in each town. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I have new videos coming out every Saturday.